and you say everything is fine. Oh, 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 everything is alright. Oh, oh. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Songs Nobody Asked Me For. And we're racing through the year here, and yeah, it's kind of what time is it? About the 11th of June today. Should be basking in glorious sunshine, but instead down here in Cornwall, it's mainly pissing it down. It's been drizzly and miserable and feels a bit like October. It's chilly. I think the weather is supposed to be picking up next week, but you know, who knows? But I don't want to do that very British thing of sitting and talking about the weather. I could do, but you know, we'll see. I will see. See where it goes. So this is you know, me doing another one of these little sort of ones by myself here. Having just met yesterday with Lucine Bell, who I really enjoyed catching up with them, and you'll have seen that because thinking that probably would have been the episode before. I had a few sort of problems with sound, which I realised I kind of had to work on really, and it was my own fault because I put the microphone on the table. So I think what happened was when people were drinking their coffee or would sort of hit the table or anything like that, it kind of resonated through the speaker system, which was a bit of a rookie error really. But we can still hear them and speak to them, and you know, I really enjoyed getting to know them. And then I thought, I was trying to think about what I might do next really, and I've got another interview hopefully next week, a couple coming up really. I'll keep quiet about who they are and what that's about until I get to them really. But I did this funny thing the other day because I was feeling a little bit devoid of trying to work out what I might talk about next. I was going to get a drink because I'm going to cough in a minute. I don't want to do that to you. That's better. And I had a few sort of thoughts and ideas, but I thought I would ask ChatGPT. See, I'd sort of told it a little bit about my podcast and etc. It helped me come up with a name for this podcast. Really early days when I really didn't know what I was doing at all, and I thought, how do I set up a podcast? What do I do? And so I asked ChatGPT for a name for it. And it gave me a list of names, and I thought this one was great. Songs Nobody Asked Me For, and it's really hung in there as a good name. It's funny because it was congratulating me on the name. I've kept the thread, but I thought, well, you gave me the name, but it was kind of saying what a great name you have there. It's funny and it's kind of, but it's also it says what it is. And I thought, well, all right, steady there, bigging up yourself or what, Anyway, I just said to it, ask me some questions for the podcast, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 6 questions it asked me really. I haven't looked at them properly. At the moment with my glasses on I can't read them, but I typed them up very quickly. So I've got a rough idea of what they are, but I haven't really thought of them. And what I thought I would do was, ask myself each question and see whether it's of interest to us or not really. It gave me a couple of ideas of topics I might think about for future ones, which seemed okay, and maybe I'll use them, maybe I won't, It's kind of, I want to say thanks to this lovely AI tool, whilst at the same time it's plotting to take my life. It's kind of, as AI relentlessly moves on, and in the main, none of us seem to have worked out that, it's potentially going to take over everything, isn't it? And I've often thought that if we lived in a idyllic Star Trek type of world where money was unnecessary, or governments were so benign that they just thought, we'll just pay everybody a living wage, and then people won't have to work because this system will take over most things, then that would be great. But I don't really feel that's going to happen, so I don't know where it's headed. Anyway, let's not get down to the apocalyptic future of AI, other than that it was quite helpful with me coming up with some questions really. So should we start? Let's have a think of the first question here. It says, the song that made you want to be a musician. Blimey. That's really tough. Because, that sat in me from such an early age. And I've talked a lot about that on the podcast. And it's very hard to define or think about one song. I've talked about artists. I've talked about Bowie a lot. Talked about a little about Elvis Costello and his influence. But I'd have to go back a really young age to think about that. I'm trying to think about art or a song that that made me think I wanted to be a musician. Do you know? I don't know. I'm going to make an embarrassing confession here because, well, for some, not for others. But I used to. I've told you this before that my parents loved Radio 2 and I used to have to listen to all this Radio 2 all the time. But I did like some of it, and from time to time I'd come across a song which I think really did influence me by what I would call its alliteration. I think that's the right word for that, which would be this idea of how the words went together and that they were really unusual and odd rhymings. And the person that most comes to mind in this is, which is a slight embarrassing confession, maybe not, no, I don't think so, is Gilbert O'Sullivan. And my dad loved Gilbert O'Sullivan. And at his funeral, I played a song of his, big hit of his called Claire, which is the most straightforward of his songs, really, for me, of the ones that I'd heard at the time. It wasn't very straightforward to play at Dad's funeral. It was a bit of a rough idea to do, really. I kind of thought, I'll do this. And I always remember that, my older brother spoke at the funeral. My younger brother was with us there as well. And I remember thinking, well, I'll be all right as long as my older brother doesn't crack up while he's talking. Which, of course, he did right at the end. So just before I start, he's upset, I get upset. But I managed to do it. Anyway, it's a bit of an aside. But he did a couple of songs that are astonishing in terms of lyrics for me. And one of them is called Nothing Rhymed. And it's just really interesting. And it is actually about, I think, somewhere within there is some stuff around social injustice, and sitting eating apple pies while you're watching people starving on the telly and these sorts of things, which is kind of quite out there for that. And the other track of his that I found poignantly, astonishingly good, and I've heard a cover which is amazing, is called Alone Again Naturally. And if you haven't heard this, have a listen to Alone Again Naturally. But there's an amazing version now. I think her name is Alison Kraus, and Michael Bublé, actually. They do this version of this song, and it pretty much makes me cry every time I listen to it. And I'll put it on the link to that track. Alison Kraus, I think her name is with a K. I wish I knew her name. Trouble is, sometimes I get in this place and I want to look it up. I look something up, but I don't want to stop the recording, so I'm not going to do that. But I'll put it in the link. She's got a beautiful voice. It's really moving. And if I was to think about influence, I remember those two songs, and I remember being really curious as a child, listening to the alliteration of his words and his songs, and how they didn't seem very obvious. He's quite an interesting character if you don't know about Gilbert O'Sullivan, because I think he took on the record business in terms of feeling he wasn't getting the royalties he wanted or should have expected, was signed up to one of these NAF contracts, took on the music industry and won, but then was kind of just blocked from ever moving forward in his career, I think. I may have the details of that wrong, but I'm pretty certain that's something similar to that. And I think at the time of his height, I think he was selling more records and being more successful than Elton John, and certainly a sort of peer of his at the time. And yeah, really interesting guy. And because my dad liked him, although it's the sort of thing that winds you up as a kid and a teenager, but as an adult, an older adult, I can appreciate that. And I think partly my dad liked it because my dad's name was Ray, and in Claire he talks about being called Uncle Ray, and I think that my dad liked that. So. Yeah, and he was a bit of a sentimentalist, my dad, as well, so sort of sentimental words in that song. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, really. Song that made me want to be a musician. But they're certainly around there. I don't think I have a song is the answer to that. Oh, the song that saved you. Oh, wow, that's pretty heavy, isn't it? Blimey. I think... oh man, this is going to really piss me off. This is the trouble because I have no brain really. I am going to stop my recording because I've got to look these things up. It's ridiculous because I can think of a song, but I can't think of the guy who performed it that would make a difference. So I'm going to stop. I'm honestly not going to edit anything. I feel really bad about stopping. I'm going to stop. I'm going to start again. Okay, and I remembered it before I looked it up, so typical. So it's Hallelujah by Jeff Buckley. It's not written by Jeff Buckley, it's a Leonard Cohen song. And I've heard Leonard Cohen's version, and I like Leonard Cohen's version, but I remember going to, it was a Christian festival at the time I was kind of coming back into faith, and that was an uncomfortable period of my life. It wasn't a happy, clappy, straightforward period of time for me. It was quite a painful time. And I went to a festival called Greenbelt. Been trying to play there with the band ever since, because it was kind of a sort of a secular religious crossover sort of place, and I think it's a great festival, but never managed to get past the ridiculous system at the beginning, which I feel quite sad about, because I feel like I had a real personal connection to that festival. And I've written that in when I've applied, and they say, why do you want to apply? And I've written this again and again, but it doesn't seem to get anywhere really. But I will keep trying. Anyway, I went to Greenbelt that time, and there were lots of talks and workshops and conferences and services and amazing communion in the fields there with, thousands of people all in little groups. One of you had to go up and get a little paper bag, and then there was a little bottle of wine and some bread, and this massive communion out in the fields with amazing worship happening out loud and out in the open there, sun shining. Oh, stunning experience. But I went to a workshop, and one of them was a sort of contemplation workshop on Hallelujah. And this guy talking about how he'd used it as a sort of prayer meditation sort of song. And we really just sat there meditating and listening to Hallelujah, really. And I find it the most beautiful song. And maybe it saved me. There was a period of my life when I wasn't in a great place, and I think that song seemed to be very poignant, had a lot of meaning to me. I read or saw a documentary about Leonard Cohen writing that song. And some other musician saying, he rang me up at 3 a.m. and saying, I'm writing this song and I keep writing verses and I can't stop, and I don't know how to stop writing it because the verses keep coming out and coming out. It's a very long song. Hear Leonard Cohen's version of it. But forget the X Factor version. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to any other versions. Just listen to Jeff Buckley's version. If you've never heard it, listen to Jeff Buckley's version. Okay. Songs you wish you'd written. Wow. Well, there's probably lots of songs I wish I'd written. But one that often comes to me is Stay by David Bowie. I love that song. And it's just so straightforward, but the guitar, sort of ding, 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 ding. And it's really sort of a little bit funky and a little bit heavy, and it's kind of got these amazing guitar solos. I could imagine Brad playing. And definitely wish I'd written that. That would be, that'd be all right, wouldn't it? I wouldn't mind that. I think there's so many songs you wish you'd written, aren't there? I think, but it's not something I linger on. Do you know a song I really like as well? I don't know whether this is. No, it's not embarrassing. Is that one that Moves Like Jagger? I love that song, and again, it's the beat. And sometimes what happens with these sorts of songs, I've not done it with either of those actually, is that sometimes a beat will inspire me to write a song, and I know that. A song will never sound the same. I wrote a song called which was it? You Win Again. Was it You Win Again? No. It was called The People You Know. And I'm getting confused. See, it's just age. It was You Win Again. There's these two songs, you've not heard them, so it doesn't really matter. I could have just made it up, really. But You Win Again. And I wrote it because I'd heard a Portishead song. I really love the rhythm from Portishead. Now, if you heard my song, it doesn't sound anything like Portishead. And I like that. I like that process that evolves in which you end up doing something that doesn't sound like something else, really. But the influence is there. But yeah, if I had to pick one, Stay by David Bowie. There we go. I'm moving swiftly on because I'm kind of aware of time, and I have to be somewhere else shortly. So, the song you can't listen to anymore. Wow. I certainly think after my dad died, that song, Alone Again Naturally, I couldn't listen to. I found it so deeply distressing that I couldn't. And now, probably I can, really. There's a lot of awful songs I can't listen to anymore. I'm sticking with the theme, but, there's a Bowie album called Never Let Me Down, which I kind of bought at the time. I can't listen to that. I tried a little while back, a little recently, when I did a podcast, for me, not that long ago, for you, it's been a couple of months ago, really, about Bowie and his influence on my songwriting. And at that time, I was listening to a lot of Bowie again, and trying to listen to some of his later stuff that I'd kind of gone away from, hadn't ever really properly listened to. But Never Let Me Down was the last one of his albums I bought, and sort of really wanted to buy his albums at that time, and it's not good. It's not good. I know he thinks he thought it was probably his worst album. So I don't think I can listen to that. So I think there are things that sit within the 80s possibly that, at the time, you think, oh, this is amazing, and then you listen to it and you think, oh no. I did, as you know, I'm also a big Genesis fan, and Mike Rutherford moved into a very successful career with Mike and the Mechanics. But before he did that, from time to time he had some solo albums, and I can't remember whether this is the name of the album or the single on the album. It's called Acting Very Strange. Now, if Mike's listening, he'll be sort of probably hiding under his covers, because you can't, well, I don't know whether you can now, but you couldn't get it on Spotify, but it's a weird album. And I found it in a record shop somewhere in the back streets of London when I was a sort of teenager and older teenager and into Genesis, and I thought, oh, this would be great. And it just sounds like a home demo or something. He's singing, and I don't know whether he did much singing. It's fine, but it's just odd, and I don't think I could listen to that anymore. Except I would like to hear it once, just to sort of remind myself of it, really. Okay. We've got 2 more questions to go. The Curve song you are proudest of. Wow, now, I could probably think about that, really. Do you know the Curve song I'm proudest of, which you can check this out on Spotify. It's called Nothing Is Impossible. I want to redo it, because although we did a great version, I think the version is so much better with the guys playing live, and with the 5 of us now. It's a song that I wrote about getting older, and it's not about getting old, but it's about that idea that people have a perception of you as you get older, that maybe you need to behave or be a particular way. It happens all through our lives, doesn't it? It happens as a teenager, it happens as a child, but it happens as an older person. And I sometimes see people of my age or a little bit older that just look so old to me. There's a thing, I joke about this, that seems to happen, that, I'm waiting for this day, maybe when I get to 65 or 67, retirement age, when I will suddenly look at a nice, I don't know, crimpling pair of trousers or a lovely check shirt and a jacket and a tie, and I think, oh, that looks rather snappy. Maybe I might start dressing like my father used to dress. And I see people who are older, who are only 5 years older than me, dressing in that way and looking really old. And I know I'm old, I am old. I'm 63 years old. But there is that adage of you're as old as you feel and all of this stuff. And I don't feel that I need to change myself or my perception, my persona in order to be different. So nothing is impossible. I'm sorry, I'm really getting coughing away here. Nothing is Impossible is about, when we were younger, passion burned through the night. Nothing was impossible. Now this is me, deep in my thoughts, watching you dance through the night, knowing nothing is impossible. And it's about, this idea that when you're not looking, I'm doing the twist, I'm up there, I'm doing the twist, that's me bloody dad, isn't it? I'm dancing, I'm into stuff still, I'm still alive, I'm still here, And it's really about that. But I love it, and I just love the vibe. It was the first, what I would say, proper sort of funky song I wrote. And still holds its own with the other ones we've done on. I think it's often better. We always finish with that and then Grains of Sand. 2 songs, we finish with those. And because it's such a great ending. So, yeah, that's definitely right up there in that vibe. Right, last question. The Curve song that taught you most. Blimey. The Curve song that taught you most. That's a bit of a curveball at the end, isn't it? Taught me most. In a way, if I was to say that one of the songs that's taught me the most was the last song I think I wrote where I didn't really think about the words in any depth at all. And that would be Song About Me. And the thing about Song About Me, and again you can listen to this on Spotify, I like it, I like the vibe of it. And there's a sort of bridge that happens twice in it. And the words in it, I think I've spoken about this before, they're about me and about songwriting and, saying, I try to write clearly, but as much as I do, my words are really confused and confusing. But if you really looked, you'd find part of me in those songs. Meaning dripping down, I think I talked about. But the verses, I couldn't think of any verses, so I just made up stuff. And it's all that sort of slightly angst-ridden, or we're having a hard time, it's a difficult time. And it wasn't really how I felt, and it wasn't really something that had meaning for me. But I felt I needed to write something, and I've done that before, but not often. And that's the last time I did it. And after that, I was playing it to somebody who sort of kind of said, "Oh, this I don't like the lyrics of this," and I thought, "No, neither do I." And I tried to change them, but the trouble is, once you've been singing something for a while with a band, it's really hard to change the lyrics because you stray back into the old lyrics. So I accept it. I didn't used to like playing it live, and now I love playing it live, but I don't like the words, and I think it taught me something about. You have to be true in your words in every song you write. And even if you struggle with it, there's got to be something within it. And I think I've tried to do that. Yeah. Well, that was interesting for me. I don't know about you. I have to go. But maybe I'll try again sometime. See if it can ask me something about a particular subject or something different. I don't know. Or you could ask me if you wanted to ask me to talk about a particular thing on this podcast. I'm happy to do it. Do like or subscribe to the podcast. Follow the band, #MusicCurve, and I'll be back. Have a great day, and hope the weather is better when you're watching this than it is now. But take care. Eyes as blue as I feel as you groove the night away. Layer cake, you gliding by with clothes